Developing now, the Justice Department released over 3 million pages of files today related to the investigation into convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Let's get straight over to Jeff Harris at the live desk with all of those details.
Now, Taylor, we are still combing through all of these pages. We know over 2,000 videos. Also, over 180,000 images are included in this latest batch, which comes 6 weeks after the deadline mandated in the Epstein Files Transparency Act. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche defending that missed deadline today, saying, quote, 2 Eiffel Towers worth of documents were reviewed to protect the victims, and some files are still being withheld.
Any depiction of CSAM or child pornography was obviously excluded. Anything that would jeopardize an active federal investigation. And finally, anything that depicts or contain images of death, physical abuse, or injury.
Take a look here. Among the millions of documents included, this email exchange with Elon Musk from 2013, coordinating a trip to Epstein's Caribbean island, and a 2014 email from a former Obama White House aide showing Epstein paid for a trip that she took to Europe. The documents also containing references to President Trump, but Blanche shooting down the narrative that the DOJ is trying to protect him, while also stating that Epstein himself never accused Trump of criminal wrongdoing.
This mantra out there that, the Department of Justice is supposed to protect Donald J. Trump, and that's what we were telling. That's not true. That was never the case. We are always concerned about the victims.
Speaking of Epstein survivors also speaking out tonight, some saying they're being gaslighted by the administration, claiming they haven't been prioritized throughout this entire process.
The DOJ released documents with their names. Some of them had their phone numbers and addresses attached. And you want to preach about transparency? Perhaps you were being, to me, it's deliberate.
Now, based on a preliminary review, there is no suggestion that appearing in these documents implies any wrongdoing or criminal conduct. Blanche adding in that press conference earlier today, members of Congress can access unredacted versions of these files, which many expressed frustration about after prior releases.
Joining us now to dive into the legal challenge further is former U.S. Attorney John Fishwick. John, thank you for being here tonight. First of all, what do the ramifications for being held in contempt of Congress actually look like for the Clintons? Is it financial? What could the ramifications be?
Didi, the ramifications are serious. If you're found in contempt of Congress for defying a subpoena to testify at a deposition, you can be sentenced by a judge to up to 12 months in jail and or a $100,000 fine for defying that subpoena. So they're very serious. And the fact that both Republicans and Democrats voted today to find them in contempt out of the House Oversight Committee, I would fully expect that the Clintons are very seriously considering reversing course and testifying in those depositions because the consequences are significant.
And you're also right. The split among some Democrats with the contempt votes was notable today. The Clintons do claim that the subpoenas are invalid and legally unenforceable. That's what they're saying. But there have also been some legal experts who say they do not have a case. What is the legal standard for depositions and for it to be transcribed, as that came up today as well?
Yeah, I think it's going to be hard for the Clintons to negotiate ground rules that give them some sort of favoritism. It's going to need to be transcribed and be under oath. So if they do go to trial, though, these cases are fairly open and shut. Did you receive a subpoena? Did you show up to testify? And if you didn't, that's going to be perceived as contempt. So the other defenses about it being overbroad, et cetera, I don't think they'll fly. These are very much open and shut cases. Did you receive a subpoena and did you show up and testify?
Separately, John, several conservative Supreme Court justices now appear skeptical of President Trump's attempt to fire Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook. As we listen to the justices' comments today, take a listen to this.
Your position that there's no judicial review, no process required, no remedy available, a very low bar for cause that the president alone determines. I mean, that would weaken, if not shatter, the independence of the Federal Reserve that we just discussed.
What are some of the implications here? You just heard Justice Kavanaugh's comments. If they do side with her for the extent of presidential power, what does this mean for President Trump?
Yeah, so Didi, Justice Kavanaugh has been a leader in this area. The Supreme Court has given President Trump wide latitude to replace folks at the federal at the FTC and also at the NLRB, saying basically he can let those people go or fire them for any reason. But as relates to the Federal Reserve, Justice Kavanaugh and other conservative justices say that's a little different. That goes back to the original first bank in this country. You've got to have a good reason to let that person go, and there's got to be some sort of process. It doesn't mean that Lisa Cook has lifetime guarantee for a job, but it means that because it's the Federal Reserve and it involves money and monetary policy, the Supreme Court is saying there's got to be a little more process if you're going to fire her. You can fire a lot of other folks at executive agencies, but as relates to the Federal Reserve, Justice Kavanaugh and the other justices are saying you got to go a little more slowly. There's got to be a real process.
Former U.S. Attorney John Fishwick, 2 cases that we are watching. We will check in with you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President, are you going to sue Trevor Noah? Last night in a post, you alluded that something could be coming.
Yeah, well, he said that I spent time on Jeffrey Epstein's island. I didn't. I mean, he's a lightweight, this guy. He's a terrible, I think he's terrible. I thought he did a terrible job at the Grammys. I thought the whole Grammys was terrible. I watched part of it. It's not watchable. But he was a lousy host. I'd say not as bad as Jimmy Kimmel, but pretty close. And no, he made a statement about me and Jeffrey Epstein. I have nothing to do with that. I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. And in fact, if you look at the DOJ, they announced, they released 3 million pages. It's like this is all they're supposed to be doing. And frankly, the DOJ, I think, should just say, we have other things to do, because that whole thing has turned out, I mean, other than Bill Clinton and, Bill Gates and lots of people that there are a lot of questions about it, but nothing on me. But it was even sort of better than that, because they found that Jeffrey Epstein and this sleazebag writer named Michael Wolff were conspiring against Donald Trump to lose the election. So Epstein was conspiring with a writer for me to lose the election. So right there, you know that I had nothing to do with this guy. But yeah, it's a terrible thing. The amount of time that's being wasted. When Epstein was alive, like 10 years ago, nobody cared about it. But they're only doing it. But now it's really hitting back on them because Bill Clinton is such a big part of it. The Democrats are pushing it. And the problem is that it's turning out to be the Democrats that were with and conspired with Epstein. So I think you're probably going to see a little pullback from them. But think of it. They were working together to try and help me lose the election. But this is the Oval Office, so I guess that didn't work out too well.